Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today, and today we're going to be talking about air bricks and periscope vents. Firstly, let me show you some photos I took the other day of these new build homes. The first site I visited, I used to work on, and it used to bug the hell out of me that people were putting the periscope vents in underneath the back doors or the front doors. I remember having a conversation with the bricklayer saying you need to put the periscope vents in as per the drawing, but when he was holding the drawing, he couldn't even hold the flat layout up the right way. The second site I visited have got away with the rising damp issues on the majority of their homes because they've lowered the ground levels. But on this particular house, you can see how much they've lowered the ground level, and they're going to be causing a much bigger problem because the ground is not sloping away, it's going down to the DPC and the foundation. The last photo I'm going to show you is actually my favourite. So I visited the site randomly and I noticed that almost every home has got a DPC and then a secondary DPC on every property. They've also got air bricks all the way around. So when air bricks usually go in on a home, they go north to south or east to west. These homes have them on every elevation. But the strangest thing about this photo, which I have never seen before, is you have the first stamp, which looks like it's 150mm above the finished floor level. And then there's a secondary DPC, which is 150mm above that. And the air brick is above the DPC. Never seen that. I reckon they're fake. I wanted to start by sharing these photos to grab your attention to show you some of these issues before I delve into the real detail. You're watching The Unfiltered Female Site Manager. Real talk from the front line of construction. Today I'm breaking down how poor air brick installation is actually a major red flag for site management. Damp issues will cost thousands. But damp issues won't start arising until all the warranties have expired. Air bricks are designed to ventilate your subfloor and prevent any moisture and rising damp. Most people never think twice about air bricks. They buy their new home, they're really excited to move in there, and they don't think about looking at the building regs that should have been adhered to. If you can't put an air brick in according to the standard detail, where it needs to be 75mm above finished external ground level, what else haven't you built to the drawing? Poor airflow below your suspended floor is not just a snag, it's a warranty concern that is going to happen, but long after your 10 years have run out. I've seen it time and time again at the end of sites where the air bricks are too low. The standard detail that the building control companies used to push was that you needed to have a drop in front of the air brick, which was 75mm below, and then a 600mm clearance in front, and almost like a gravel board in front to keep the ground below to ensure that the ventilation worked. Let's have a closer look at that NHBC technical guidance document that was released in January 2016. It's titled Air Bricks to Underfloor Voids, Relationship to Ground Levels, Technical Guidance 6.1/27, January 2016. Now the first page just has all the jargon about why it's been created. The second page has all the details explaining exactly how a periscope vent should be installed. My concern with this technical guidance is if this is just a minor release that was given to me many times in my site management career, why is this not in the standards? Where's this 600mm clearance come for in front of air bricks, but most people, when they get their new home, they've put bushes in front of them and soil over them? Why is this technical guidance document not in the standards? What happens at the end is the bricklayers come in and they've got to fix it. So they just raise the air bricks and technically meant to raise the top half of the periscope vent. Although I never actually saw someone get the periscope vent out, like pull it through the brickwork, lift it up and then put it back in. It would be quite a tricky thing to do to be able to do that. I've added in some pictures of some periscope vents here for you to be able to understand how they work in a bit more detail. Once you've purchased your new build, you usually only see the air brick part of the periscope vent, but as you can see from the photos here, they are a little bit more detailed than just an air brick. You can see that the purpose of them is that they go below your subfloor, underneath your block and beam floors or your timber frame, and they ventilate that subfloor. If these become blocked by hard landscaping, soft landscaping, they won't be able to do their job properly. The airflow needs to come from the east elevation to the west elevation or the north elevation to the south elevation and allow that moisture in the subfloor to evaporate appropriately. So my question is now, I went to a site the other day and I saw an air brick one course above the secondary DPC. Strange, really strange. I've never seen that before in my career and it's made me wonder, are they fake? Have the air bricks just been moved so that it looks like they've been put in at a good level and they're fake? Could they be fake? Getting this wrong, you're inviting rot, mould, structural failings into your home, especially on a timber frame. If you're not putting the air bricks in at the right height on a timber frame, and then your DPC is compromised, and then your internal layer of your house is compromised because of the cavity wall insulation that's been installed, you've got a timber frame home. The damage that could do to your timber frame is catastrophic. I'm not exaggerating. Almost every single new build contractor that I have visited recently is getting it wrong. They are getting away from the issue on some sites of you having rising damp, because at the end of the job, instead of following the standard detail where the air brick is raised, where you have a double DPC, they are lowering the ground levels, and they're not lowering the ground levels and sloping them away from the air bricks and the DPCs. They're putting them in on slopes like this. So you're making almost mini lakes at the side of these houses where your DPCs are. What damage is this going to cause for homeowners? People are blind to it. They don't understand the implications. I'd be willing to put money on it that every single one of these new build companies has a standard detail for raised external ground levels and where the periscope vents should terminate 75mm above the ground level. If they have this detail and they are putting in the double dump in the right places at the level threshold and sometimes where the ground level should be higher, they're not raising the air bricks underneath the secondary DPC. So you're not fixing the problem. You're actually creating more of a problem. If you want to avoid this costly work, ideally, get the drawings before you exchange. Drawings are not hard to read. If you can read, then you can read a drawing. Going back to the point that a lot of new build companies are getting away with this because they're lowering the ground levels. You're not going to get rising damp because your ground levels are fine. Some homes. It's a minority, to be fair, where they have lowered the ground levels on these sites that the DPCs have been compromised. But my point is, if you are not building to that basic standard detail and getting the air bricks in at the right height, then what else are you building wrong? What other standard details building that house after the foundation level have you not built properly? I'm really hoping this is all going to change soon because of the Build Safety Act and Golden Thread. But I'm yet to see any builders go, here's your golden thread of information on everything we built on your property. Here's the specifications we use and the materials we said we're going to use. And then we actually used those materials when we built your house. Where are the material safety data sheets? Where are the details for the party wall and the fireproofing? These details should be given to homeowners as standard. The really interesting thing about this is I know why it happens as well. In the groundworker specification, it will specify that they need to do all substructure brickwork or blockwork up to DPC. Then it will be the bricklayer's job to take over. Now this is where it gets petty. So the original DPC is laid around the house and that's where the groundworkers have put the periscope vents underneath that. When the external raised ground levels at the level threshold and possibly around the side of the house where you have a driveway, at the back it's usually a step threshold and the sides, but the front and one side is usually external raised ground level, needs a double DPC, needs the air bricks raising. The brickies have supplied the periscope vents, the ground workers have put them in, when really the brickies need to hold off, make sure they check the external levels drawings on these sites and raise them. It's not for the ground worker to do, it's for the bricklayer. But that's where the specifications are out of date and that's where they need editing and they need updating. And the other main reason this happens is when the ground workers do their substructure brickwork to DPC, it's installed at scaffold base. scaffold base, what, 300 mil below DPC? By the time you then landscape that, say you're going to do hard landscaping, you put in your 150 mil of MAT or sand binding and then your paving slabs, you are then compromising the damp that's meant to be 150 mil above finished floor level. Like I say, my biggest bugbear on this is if they haven't been able to do this really basic standard detail at the start of a job, what other standard details have they not followed? I believe the rising damp issues are going to be an absolute nightmare in about 20 years for the majority of new build homeowners. If you want to try and avoid this, obviously you can try and claim against your warranty, or just for your own benefit, get that ground level away from the DPC. Make sure that the ground level is not falling towards the air vents, because these foundations and these subfloors are not designed to have the floor pulling back into them and creating little mini lakes at the side of your house. And the periscope vents are either touching the hard landscape, touching the soft landscape, and the DPC is just above them. It's not right. It's going to be a major issue in about 15, 20 years' time, if not sooner. If you've ever inherited a mess from poor site management, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, go on my social media. I have a lot of really interesting posts on my website. Many ideas floating through my head about the importance of just sharing my knowledge with as many people as possible. I'm a female site manager who has seen it all. This is the Unfiltered Female Site Managers blog, where I am about to start calling out the construction industry.